In a growing city, where skyscrapers and modern buildings were being raised one after another, there lived a young construction worker named Liam. Every day, Liam woke up before sunrise, put on his faded work uniform, strapped on his helmet, and reported to the construction site. From morning until evening, his life revolved around lifting bricks, mixing cement, and carrying heavy loads. For Liam, work was nothing more than a routine cycle. Work, eat, sleep, repeat. He saw his job as exhausting labor with only one purpose: to earn a paycheck at the end of the month. In his heart, he often wondered if life had more to offer than this endless loop. One scorching afternoon, during his short lunch break, Liam sat quietly in a corner of the construction site. Sweat dripped down his face, his muscles ached, and he couldn't help but feel drained. Beside him sat an older mason named Thomas, whose hair had already turned silver. His hands were rough and calloused, his face marked with lines of age and years of toil. Yet there was something in Thomas's easy calmness, a quiet joy that made Liam curious. Finally, Liam asked, "Mr. Thomas, you've been doing this tough job for decades. Don't you ever feel tired or bored? Why do you still look so peaceful?" Thomas set down his trowel, wiped his hands with a cloth, and smiled gently. His voice was calm, almost like a father speaking to a son. "Liam, do you think all we're doing here is just laying bricks and stacking walls?" Liam nodded. "Isn't that what it is?" Thomas turned his gaze toward the rising structure behind them. The skeleton of a building stood tall, scaffolding wrapped around it, workers bustling about. Then he spoke slowly, with conviction. "No, my boy, we are not simply laying bricks. We are building a school. One day, in just a few years, these walls will echo with the laughter of children. Classrooms will be filled with voices of learning and discovery. Every brick we place today will become part of a safe place where young minds grow. That is what I'm working for." Liam froze. Those words sank into his mind like a drop of water rippling across a still pond. He had never thought of it that way. To him, it had always been about surviving day to day. But Thomas saw something deeper. He saw meaning. That afternoon, Liam kept replaying Thomas's words in his head. "We are building a school." He began to see his own labor differently. Every brick, every beam, every ounce of effort suddenly carried a weight beyond money. It was shaping the future. He thought back on all the times he had complained, all the moments he had dragged his feet, working only to finish quickly. But now, as he looked at the weary yet peaceful expression of the old mason, he realized the truth. Work is not just about surviving. It is about contributing to something greater than yourself. From that day onward, Liam's attitude changed. He began each morning with a sense of purpose. When he lifted a bucket of cement, he imagined the walls of a classroom where children would write their first words. When he set a brick into place, he envisioned the laughter of kids running across the schoolyard. The work hadn't become easier. His back still ached, and the sun still burned, but his heart was lighter. His days no longer felt like a meaningless grind. Instead, each drop of sweat seemed to carry value, because he was no longer just working for wages. He was building something that mattered. Months passed, and the project neared completion. One late afternoon, Liam stood beside Thomas, both of them gazing at the finished building. The scaffolding had been removed, and in its place stood a beautiful school, with bright classrooms, polished floors, and wide windows that let in the sunlight. People from the neighborhood passed by, their eyes filled with excitement and gratitude. For them, this was not just a building, it was hope. Liam turned to Thomas, his voice filled with newfound conviction. "Mr. Thomas, I think I finally understand. I used to believe I was just working to get through the day. But now, I see that I've been part of building something far greater than myself." The old mason rested a firm hand on Liam's shoulder and said with a proud smile, "That's right, son. Work isn't only about making a living. When you find meaning in what you do, every day becomes worthwhile. Purpose transforms labor into joy." From then on, Liam carried that lesson into everything he did. Whether on the construction site or in his personal life, he no longer measured value by how difficult something was or how much it paid. Instead, he asked himself, "What does this contribute to? What meaning does this bring?" He learned that true fulfillment doesn't come from simply passing the days or waiting for life to get easier. It comes from living with purpose, whether in studying, working, or chasing a dream. And so, Liam's story leaves us with an important reminder. No job is meaningless when it is done with love and responsibility. Studying and working are not only for survival, they are for building, for creating, for giving something back. When you discover meaning in your efforts, every single day becomes a gift. Dear friends, ask yourself today, are you just living to get by, or are you living to create something meaningful? If this story touched you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to help spread positivity. Sometimes, even the smallest action you take can plant a seed of inspiration in someone else's life. Because in the end, it's not about how many days we live, it's about how much meaning we put into those days.